Welcome back. You are tuned in to IBL, inspired by Onika, speaking on life and inspiring people. Hey everyone, and welcome back. This is episode 52 of the IBL podcast, and today's title is How to Get the Most Out of Your Doctor's Visit. So we all need medical care at one point or another in our lives. So we schedule an appointment so we can figure out what's going on. But the problem is sometimes we don't always go in prepared with all the information that we need to give to the provider so that they can make the best assessment and come up with the best plan of treatment. Because if we go in there, we have everything ready, we can take care of mostly everything in that one visit, and we can avoid, number one, making phone calls back and forth to the office which just delays our care. Also, it can result in us having to have multiple visits or being sent for extra tests like maybe lab work or imaging studies. And sometimes it can also lead to a misdiagnosis because there's certain information that we may have forgotten and left out. So instead of us going in and kind of guessing and not providing that information, let's just go in there, be prepared, because we don't want to, prolong what's going on with us. We want to get the best treatment and do it all within that one visit, at least mostly what we can do in that one visit. It's kind of like we want to help the provider help us. And the way to do that is to take some steps and just be prepared for everything. So we're going to go ahead and get into this first scenario. Hello, and thank you for calling the doctor's office, and how may I help you today? Yes, I'm calling to make an appointment. I have this pain in my side, so when can I get in? Well, young lady, let me just check the schedule and see what we have available. So let's see. Okay, well, it looks like we can get you in 2 weeks from today. How does that sound? 2 weeks? Is that the soonest you have? You don't have anything before then? Well, unfortunately, we are pretty busy, and that's the soonest we can do. But I can put you on a wait list if you would like. Okay, yeah, well, I have no choice, so let's go ahead and do that. All right, young lady, well, we'll plan to see you then. I hope you have a good day. All right, so there you have it. You call the office, you schedule your appointment, and you're going to be seen 2 weeks from today. So the first thing you want to do is you want to write down what made you call the doctor's office to schedule that visit. Write down your symptoms and also any questions that you want to ask the doctor when you get there, because you already know that a lot can happen in 2 weeks. So you may forget some things. So we don't want to just rely on memory itself. So we want to go ahead. Number one, write down the reason you called the office to schedule. In this case, it was a pain in the side. And any other questions you want to ask the doctor for your visit that day. So that's going to be step number one. The second thing you want to do is from that day up until the day you actually have your visit, you want to keep a medical diary, a journal, a log, however you want to call it, and just kind of write down how you're feeling every day, whether that side pain is worse, it's the same, it's better, or if any other things come up, you can put those down too. And you may think it's insignificant or it doesn't matter, but anything that may be unusual for you that you're feeling, write it down. You just want to keep that medical journal, diary, however you want to call it. Just do that from the day you schedule your appointment up until the time that you have your visit. So you can go in there, you can provide that information, and you can discuss that with the doctor, because the more information they have a better idea of how to best treat. what's going on with you. And, it will just be a lot better for both, for you because you want to feel better. And also it helps the doctor as well come up with the plan for you. So you keep that medical diary every day. You can either get like a little notebook or you can put it on your cell phone in your notes or however is best for you, or your calendar, whatever's best for you. And I know that some doctors' offices, they don't want you to use your cell phone while you're there, and it's understandable. But I know myself, I have done this before. I've put some notes in of some questions that I want to ask the doctor, and I'll just say, can you give me a second? I put down some questions on my phone that I want to ask you, so that they know you're not being disrespectful and you're not texting or scrolling the internet. So whatever method works best for you, jot all that stuff down. So you go in, you're ready, you're prepared, and you have everything there in front of you at the time. Because like I said, a lot can happen in 2 weeks. So we want to make sure that we get the most out of our visit. So you go in to the appointment and the provider says, okay, I'm going to prescribe this for you. I want you to take it twice a day. Increase your water intake. So the third thing we want to do is after that visit, make sure that we follow the treatment plan. We take the medicine or whatever it is that they're prescribing. We make sure we do it as planned because they're going to want to follow up with you to see how's it going. Is this prescription working for you? Is it making it worse? Are you getting better? So just make sure that when they give you this treatment plan or the prescription, whatever they're recommending, that when you go home, you follow those steps. Because just think about, the doctor's not responsible for your health, your friend, your neighbors. We are responsible for our own health. So we are ultimately in charge of that. So if we want to feel better, we want to, see if this is working, we want to follow those instructions because we're responsible ultimately for our own health, okay? Now, the thing that happens sometimes is you may go see your doctor and they may say, okay, I want you to take this medicine for 10 days or I want you to do this for 10 days. You go home, you're like, oh, that doctor, they don't know what they're talking about. So you may follow the instructions for 2 or 3 days, and then that next day you're feeling horrible. You're like, oh my goodness, I can't take this. I have to go and see somebody. This is not working. So you call a doctor, you're all frantic. You're like, hey, this is not working. I feel worse. And then they're going to ask you, okay, have you followed the regimen? No, I only did it for 3 or 4 days. Well, then whose fault is that? Just think about that for a second. If you didn't follow the regimen and now things are worse, now you're all like, oh, I got to get in. I got to come back in. This is not working. Well, think about it. They gave you a plan. You didn't follow it. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so that's going to be the third thing, is to follow the instructions after your visit, because that way you'll have a better understanding whether or not that treatment worked for you, whether it made it better, whether it made it worse. Then you can do something else if it's not working. So the first thing, write down your symptoms when you make the phone call. Second thing, keep a medical daily diary journal. Third thing is after your visit, follow the instructions of the provider. Now, when you're there at your visit, sometimes the doctor, they may recommend that you have a certain procedure or a surgery to correct the problem. Well, you might not feel good about it. You might think, I don't agree with that. This doctor, they don't know what they're talking about. And, I know that they're people just like you and me, and also that different providers, they get their studies and their learning from different colleges, different areas of the world. And so certain doctors may have certain treatments that they use that others don't, and vice versa. So if your provider says to you, okay, this is what we're going to do, you need to have this surgery or you need to have this procedure, always you can get a second opinion, or if you need to, get a third opinion, because it's best to find out before you go through with it. as opposed to later on saying, oh, I didn't ask any questions, I don't know what the risks are, and things like that. So always, 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 if you feel uneasy about it, get a second opinion, third opinion if you have to, because you know your body, you know what you feel comfortable with. So some questions you might want to start out with are, you may want to ask, is this procedure or is this surgery really necessary? That's number one. You want to also ask, what are the alternatives? Is there something else that I can do as opposed to having this surgery or this procedure? Also, what are the risks? Okay, if I go through with this surgery or this procedure, what are the risks? Okay, and then you may also ask, well, what is my prognosis if I don't have the surgery? If I don't do anything, what's going to happen? What's your, in your professional medical opinion, what is going to happen if I don't go through with this surgery? So just make sure any questions that you have, you ask those up front, because afterward it's going to be way too late, right? So you want to make sure you have all those answers, you can evaluate, and you can make a decision about whether or not this is something that you want to do. And then, you can have a more informed decision after you get a second opinion. Maybe you get a third, because this one provider may say, okay, you need a surgery. Well, the second provider you see, they may say, well, no, there's something else that I think we can try first before you go through with this procedure, because we all know that there are risks with any time you have a surgery, especially if you are going to be under anesthesia. That in itself has its own sets of problems and risks, going under anesthesia. So you just want to just get as much information as you can, because the more you know, you'll be prepared for it, and then you can make the best decision for yourself. That's just the bottom line. And it's just always good. And even if it's something that you feel is insignificant or is too small, always ask your doctor. Don't be afraid to call and ask. Don't be afraid to do that. I mean, it's best that you know everything, you know what you're getting into, and not to say that, everything's going to come off with a hitch and everything's going to be well after, if you decide you're going to go through with it. But at least you'll know going in what you're in for and what may happen. Okay, so let's do a little wrap up about how you can get the most out of your doctor's visit. When you make that initial phone call, write down what made you call the office to schedule and what other questions you have for that visit. Second thing, every day from the time you call to the time you're seen, you want to keep a medical journal, log, diary every day. How does that pain feel? Because you scheduled a visit for side pain. So the next day, is it worse? Is it the same? Is it better? Do you have other symptoms, like maybe you have a headache? Maybe you have a shooting pain down your arm or your leg, whatever's going on, anything that's unusual. Write that down, bring it with you to your visit, because the more we present, the better that visit's going to be, the more comprehensive it's going to be. And the third thing is, once you're there, if they make recommendations for you, make sure you follow those instructions when you get home, because I'm sure they're going to want to follow up with you just to see how things are going. So those are the three things we can do. And then if they make recommendations for any type of procedure and you're just unsure about it, there's nothing wrong with asking questions. Just make sure that you're informed, you're going into it, having the information that you need, that makes you more comfortable in going through with it or not, and you can make that decision. And don't be afraid. Ask as many questions as you need, okay? Because afterward, it's going to be a little too late then, so we want to make sure we go into it informed. So that is our episode for today. This is episode 52, How to Get the Most Out of Your Doctor's Visit. You can hear this and all episodes on the Podbean app, YouTube, Amazon, Apple, and Spotify. And be sure to share this episode with someone, a friend, family member. Like the episode before you go. And leave a comment also if you'd like. Let me know. If there's something that you particularly liked about the episode, even if there's something you didn't like, your feedback is very valuable. So again, I hope you all are well, and that is the end of episode 52 of the IBO podcast. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the IBO podcast. You can hear this and all episodes on the Podbean app, YouTube, and Spotify. Until next time, stay well and be blessed.